What's up, guys? It's your boy Clueless Media with another video. So I'm officially going to make a new series called Cars and Mics, and what that's basically going to consist of is me interviewing some of my friends, any car enthusiasts that are around the area, or just in general of their vehicles. So fortunate enough for me, I am going to be the first person to do it. So let's get started. So what we have behind me is my personal 2004 Mitsubishi Evo Lancer Evolution 8. That's a long name. Well, basically, the car I've had for about 2.5 years now. I've had the most fun with it when I drive it. It's amazing. The car overall is amazing. Well, let me just give you a little backstory on the car. So back in about 2019, I was looking for a vehicle. So my first vehicle after the one before that, which was a Cobalt SS, was a manual car, obviously. So I sold that. And I ended up going with a Lexus IS300, and that was my baby too. I love that thing. That thing was quick, it was efficient, it was rear-wheel drive, and obviously I was 17 at the time, 18 maybe. Rear-wheel drive and rain doesn't equal the best time when you don't know what you're doing with the car. Started off with that car. I ended up learning some tricks of drifting, and I wasn't the best at it, I will admit. I just ended up saying, F it, let's go all out, let's try to put this thing in BIR, you know, try to drift it. But I didn't get a chance to because I do work 6 days a week, and that kind of is a problem. I did it in Mexico, and I ended up just drifting around and getting used to the rear-wheel drive system because that was my first rear-wheel drive car at 18 years old. I got actually pretty good at it. And what ended up happening is, in this very ramp on the top floor, it was an icy night. I went to go drift with my buddy, and obviously drifting and ice does not go together. So I smashed it in one of these big old white posts that you see behind me, and it just destroyed the quarter panel. I was absolutely devastated because that car was my baby. I didn't know what to do afterwards. So after that, I pretty much said, you know what, let's switch it up. I need a new car. I need something nice, something fast, turbo, rear-wheel drive for sure. And plot twist, I was not looking for an Evo 8, that's for sure. So I went to look on Marketplace, and I didn't find what I was looking for. Nothing cheap at all, at least, you know, only S2000s or S2Ks. I mean, 240s that were about 30 grand. Yeah, that's what they go up for. I was like, you know what, I'm out of the waters. I really don't care at this point. So my buddy came up to me like, hey, I'm selling my Evo 8 if you're interested. I'm like, you know what, let's go look at it. So we went to go look at it, and at the time it was still winter, so we could only get a couple glances of it without driving too much on the road because it was icy, and also the salt wasn't the best there. So we went to go look at it, and pretty much I was amazed the first time I saw it. Like, I fell in love with the car. I was like, it wasn't necessarily my dream car at the time. I didn't know too much about the car, so I didn't really expect to buy one day. So it came out of the blue, and it just kind of came into perfect timing because at the time I was getting a higher credit score. You know, I was able to get a loan out for a car because the Lexus I bought flat out cash with my Cobalt. So I was able to get a loan out, and that's very dangerous sometimes for an 18, 19-year-old. Pretty much what happened is I said, let me drive the car around, let me see how it works, let me see if I like it. So I drove it around, and I got the feel for it, and I fell in love with it. The car was amazing, overall 100%. So pretty much what happened is I ended up going to the bank, and I said, hey, how much can you guys give me for this car? The guy, he wants $19,000 for it, and what can you guys give me? So they looked at the book value of it, and at first, initially, they said, we can only give you $15,000. I said, you are out of your mind because these things are not worth $15,000 with good condition and all that stuff, ish condition. So I said, check the private value. So they checked the private value on it, and they said $17,000. I said, you know what, I can work with that. And that was actually perfect because that's when I got my taxes, and I was like, I'll just pay the rest, you know, no big. I paid the rest in taxes and fees and everything, and I got the car. And I'd say that was probably the best moment of my life because it was initially my dream car after I saw it. So I'm like, I couldn't believe it, and like, there's no way this is real. I got an Evo 8, this is amazing. But when I went to go check out the car, it was nighttime. That's the only time that I saw it, so I couldn't see the entire vehicle at the time. Pretty much did a blind buy with that car. It looked awesome at night. It looked shiny, black, tarmac black. But once I actually got it to my garage the next day in the morning, I saw door dings. There was door dings everywhere. I mean, I'm talking the front doors, the back doors, the quarter panel. It was all dinged up, and I was very, very disappointed because was kind of mad at myself, more or less, because I didn't tell him to go see it in the daytime. But yet again, I was working 6 days at the time and still am. But I didn't get a good glance at it until I bought it afterwards, and I said it was too late, but thank God for paintless dent repair. So unfortunately, the car did have to sit for another 6 months because it was winter at the time, so I didn't want to risk driving it in the winter again. So unfortunately, previous owner did drive it in the winter, and it did have some rust on it. It was in the quarter panels, both sides. It was starting to bubble a little bit, but eventually over time it got worse, and that was the bad part about it. I mean, it is a Minnesota Evo, and what I do recommend is do not buy a Minnesota Evo, guys. So the car was in storage, and finally spring came, and I got a chance to finally drive it. The car was amazing. Like I said, it drove fantastic. Nothing that I could see that was relatively bad, but I drove it around. I showed my other Evo buddy, and he said, yeah, it's a pretty good buy, you know, not bad, good condition. The first thing that I did to it was debadging. Absolutely disgusting chrome in the back. It had the stock Evolution 8 letters, and don't get me wrong, it's such a cool design. I mean, back in 2004, it reminds me of Spider-Man, but it actually worked nice back then in 04, but not my taste. I ended up debadging it, and it looked 10 times better in my opinion, and had a nice clean trunk. I still had the wing on there too, by the way. And the neat thing about the car actually is it's an SSL package, so it's a sunroof, sub, and leather package, so it's kind of the higher end trim ones. It is a little bit heavier than most Evos because it doesn't have the aluminum roof on there. But more or less, it's still a fun car. Anyways, after that, I drove around for 3 months. I finally got my first set of real wheels in my entire life, and those are the RPF ones that you see on here. Their size is about 17 by 9.5, and they fit relatively good. They have a little bit of poke, but that's what I was kind of aiming for, kind of an aggressive look. I wanted to get rid of that 8.5 factory wheel. You know, you have all that wheelbase left and you want to fill it in. So I said, let's go 9.5. And I wrapped them around some Continentals, all seasons. Those are a little bit of stretch too. They're 245s. For 9.5, they're 9.5 wheels. So I got a 245 on there. So it's a little bit of a stretch, natural stretch. Pretty much after that, winter came again. So I had to store it again, and before I did that, actually, that's when I went to the cities, and I found a guy who could do the rust for me for a pretty good job, and they sent me videos and everything throughout the whole process, and it was amazing. They ended up, you know, sanding it down, almost cutting it out too, and they didn't use any Bondo, so that was a good part. So they just rewelded a new piece onto there, and they slapped on the new piece and welded it and put some fiberglass over it, and it looked amazing. I'm gonna see if I can put some videos up here so you guys can take a look. And yeah, it pretty much was a solid done deal. I told them to do imperfections all over the car too, so they did the hood, the roof, the quarter panels, anywhere that they could see that was something wrong that would affect paint. Speaking of paint, I was thinking about painting it. That's why I had them do every imperfection they could. I didn't tell them to sand the entire car though, because it was going to cost a little bit more, so I was going to do that myself. But initially what happened is my friend got into the wrapping business. And no, not biggie, you know, wrapping, but wrapping cars. So he started wrapping, and I told him to wrap my car, and he said, yeah, let's do it. So all I did was bought the wrap, and the wrap is actually a cream color, ivory. It's tech wrap. So it's the closest thing that I could see that was at my taste, color-wise, and it looks completely like paint, guys. I'm not even joking. I'll have some videos posted up, but it looks identical to paint. I've had people say, what's the paint coat on that? Like, it's not paint. Yeah, the car's been fun. I haven't done too much to it, besides obviously the wrap and some performance mods. I had to cut off the exhaust because of the JDM bumper. It's a totally different exit size, so that had to change a little bit. One of the biggest things that I did get for the car is going to be the carbon fiber trunk, the JDM bumper, and that's OEM, by the way, so I didn't want to go cheap with eBay or anything. Also, I did redo the calipers on it, so I know if you guys know that if you buy an Evo and you see pink calipers, then you know it's been abused. That's a dead giveaway. So unfortunately, my car was abused. It is an Evo. The guy was, you know, younger too, so it is what it is. So I finally got the guts to actually repaint them myself, and I'd say I did a pretty fair job. I'll see if I can pull up a video of them. It took me 4 days to paint the calipers, only because I did one at a time. So one caliper, I did the sanding, painting. I waited 15 minutes exactly each coat, and then 30 minutes for the last, and then clear coat. And I used ceramic high temp tape high temp paint, and yeah, that pretty much worked out just fine. So pretty much where we're at on the car. One last thing, before I actually wrapped the car, I went to Wisconsin Dells with it. It was a pretty long trip, a very fun trip. I went to go to a hotel, and we didn't plan it as good. It's a long story short, we ended up getting a hotel right next to the strip, and as you can imagine, a bunch of people walked by the strip, and it was late at night, drunk people. They ended up stealing my vortex generators. Yeah, those guys. So those are factory on the vehicle, and they got ripped off, and I was super disappointed because I didn't even notice them until I got 3 hours away from Wisconsin Dells, and I noticed that what happened to them, and then they're pretty much gone. Because I remember taking videos before we even got to 3 hours away from there, and I recorded my car actually next to a shiny semi truck, and I could see the whole car, and I obviously didn't look at the roof, but once I played back the video, they were missing, so they didn't fly off. But yeah, I guess somebody needed them more than I did. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up today. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. There definitely will be more content coming. I'm sorry I haven't been posting, guys. I've kind of been working a lot, and I really will try my best to post. Just stay tuned. I'll be getting another camera too, hopefully. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. So just leave a like and subscribe, and thanks, guys. Peace.